Welcome to the first edition of Now You Know on the very first broadcast day of HISD Now. Each week, Now You Know will give you behind the scenes access to the work happening in our schools and our district. For the first edition, we are joined by Superintendent Mike Miles. Thank you for joining us. And today at 3 p.m. we're going to have a big announcement on a new chief of schools. But
that's right.
Before we get to that, we need to know where we're at and how we've gotten to where we are right now.
Yeah, well, thanks for inviting me on. This is the first edition. I'm excited for HISD Now and this portion of the broadcast. How did we get here?
Yep.
Yes, we're going to have an announcement on a chief of schools, but I got to take you back a year and a half. And a year and a half ago, we know there was a lot of changes, a lot of things that needed to be fixed and improved in this district. But no more important change than improving the quality of instruction. So many of the things, actually most of the things that we changed or improved had to do with the quality of instruction. So a year and a half ago, our first year of this transformation, we tried to set the bar. What does high quality instruction look like? What does it mean? Can we set the metrics so that everybody understands where that bar is? And that was the whole effort of the first year. And we have 4 division superintendents who are working on their areas, their schools, and all trying to improve the quality of instruction. And I think we did a fair job with that, but now we're in the second year. We've described the bar, and the real key this year is, can we implement those practices, those instructional practices, to make sure that we all reach that bar and that we have consistent implementation across the district for high quality instruction?
So the next step is basically about continuous improvement.
That's
to
right.
continue to be a high performance district, correct?
That's right. I mean, we know there were 274 autonomous schools. And to improve all of them consistently across the district, even with 4 division superintendents, is a challenge. And so, again, I think we made great progress last year. Now it's time to say, hey, we've got to have consistently high implementation across the district to get to where we need to be on high quality instruction.
Okay, so what does continuous improvement look like?
Yeah, so when we think about all the things that have to happen, even setting the standards, setting the bar, setting the expectations, continuous improvement means that we start at one place, we get pretty good, but now it's time to get even better. And there's always going to be some fits and starts. There's always going to be some challenges. I mean, I'll give you one example. When we're talking about hiring staff, and every large organization, they make mistakes in hiring staff. They don't always get it right. We didn't always get it right. Not all our EDs are cut out to be instructional executive directors. Not all principals are cut out to be instructional principals. Not all teachers are cut out to be instructional leaders in the classroom. Most of them are, don't get me wrong. I think we did a fair job of that, but we want to make sure we continuously improve so that we have consistently high implementation, and we need the best executive directors, the best principals, the best teachers.
Nachi, talk to me a little bit about the structure behind this and the key 4 points that we are looking at to make these better.
Yeah, so when we think about that, let me frame it in the context of why chief of schools.
Right.
And the four reasons why. I've already said a little bit, but one of the things we need to do beyond continuously improve, we need to have a chief of schools because we need consistent implementation across the board. And with that consistent implementation, I think we're going to grow the quality of instruction. We didn't have that. I mean, again, we had pretty good implementation across the board with regard to 4 division area superintendents, but now we need it across the board. The second reason why we need a chief of schools is for the development of our executive directors. Right. And so when I talk about executive directors, we have 274 principals. And the unit of change in many districts is the principal, and we need good principals. However, when you have 274 of them, you need people who can coach the principals, who can supervise them, monitor their improvement, and insist on that meeting the bar. So we have executive directors who are over 6 or 7 schools, and they are the key leverage point for change. And I've already said we have really, we have 55 executive directors of instruction. Overwhelming majority of them are great, are instructional leaders. We need to make sure that they all of them are meeting the bar that we have. So that's the second point. And the third point is, when we started, we had 4 different division superintendents, and we still do, and we need them. Well, we had 4 areas, and that means we had 4 different groups of people doing newsletters for the division.
Right.
We had 4 different groups of people doing assessments, assessment analysis for each division. Right. We had 4 different groups of people overseeing the hiring of people in those divisions. And so now we're at a point, and maybe we needed that the first year. We were moving fast and we needed them to have some autonomy and initiative. But now we're at a point where we need to have more economies of scale. We need better efficiencies. We don't need 4 different teams. We do still need people, but we don't need that many, and so that's another reason for having a chief of school, a person who can oversee the whole thing. And then last but not least, when we talk about all of this, even in instruction, we're also talking about a high-performance culture. Right. We need a consistent implementation to where we have the same hiring, where we have the same sense of urgency, where we have the same standard instructional practices, where we have the same level of accountability and that sense of urgency.
So talk to me a little, how does the chief of schools going to fit into the org chart? Like, I mean, what's changing, and what are people going to see that are already in this chart going to see differently?
Well, thanks for asking that, because I need people to understand that this chart, this org has been here except for the chief of schools. So not much is going to change for the principals. They still have executive directors, and you can see here, as I talked about earlier, they're the focus of implementation. Executive directors will still have the senior executive directors that they report to, and then the division chiefs, we're not calling them division soups, we're calling them division chiefs now. Division chiefs will still be there. Yes, there is one person inserted in here now, the chief of schools, to be the person who oversees the entire instructional program and the operational program in our schools in this district.
So really, this person's is just to basically monitor the bar to make sure these other folks are all rising to that bar on a consistent level and keeping everything kind of the same.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, that's a good summary. So we set the bar.
Yep.
And yes, the chief of schools is going to make sure that we all reach that bar, all the schools, all the executive directors reach that bar, and that we have good consistency of implementation across the district. Perfect. That's the job.
That's great. Superintendent Miles, thank you for joining us on this first edition of Now You Know, on the first day of HISD Now. Today at 3 o'clock, you need to tune in, because we're going to be live again, and this time we're going to be introducing our new chief of schools. We'll see you at 3 o'clock.